Alright, hey, Hazebeck here, and I'm shooting a quick video on how to set the sag with on a Sur Ron Light Bee that has a Rockshox Vivid R2C. I think if you have the Rockshox Kage also, it's the it's pretty much the same shock. It just has one less adjustment on it. All right, so it would probably work for that too, but I'm not 100% on that. All right. So what I'm trying to do today is set the sag for my bike, all right, for the rear. I already done the front, so now I got to do the rear. So you want if you guys don't know why sag is important, you want your suspension, all right, your shock to sit in the middle of the stroke, all right. If there's too much sag, then you bottom out easily. If there's too little sag, you'll top out too easily. So you want it to sit like kind of a little bit past the middle is what I want to say, okay. According to the Dorado manual, it's 20 to 30% of the stroke or the travel. All right, so I found a neat trick that you could do with the Rockshox shock. All right, so the Sur Ron Light Bee has a linkage. All right, so I think I checked it before, and it has about 8 inches of travel. All right, so there's actually 2 ways you can do this. I'm gonna show you how to do the easier way. All right, because the other way kind of requires another person. It makes it easier if you have another person, but you could do this by yourself. All right. So the Rockshox has the shock for the Vivid R2C has a stroke of 3.5 inches. Okay. It says so on the spring. All right. And so also another thing is you have to make sure you have the right spring for your bike. All right. My recommendation is a spring somewhere depending on how heavy you are. Okay, so your sag is dependent on how heavy you are with your gear on, or your normal riding gear on. All right, so this is what I normally would ride in, so that's why I'm wearing it right now. Okay. Now I just got back from a DoorDash, so and I can't wait to take this gear off, but I gotta shoot this video. so yeah, so instead of taking the sag from like the axle to like somewhere else on the bike, a fender, you can do it by the stroke. All right, so basically what the linkage does on the bike is it multiplies the distance, all right, that the wheel travels. All right, so it's 3.5 here and it's about 8 over there, so it multiplies it by about like 2. All right, but so you can do the stroke by taking the stroke of the shock, all right, the travel, 3.5, and then you multiply that times 20% or 30%, and then that gives you your target sag, all right. So and I'll show you the math right now, all right, and then I will show you how to do it. It's actually very, very easy, okay. All right. Okay, so here is the math. Hades Mega has done it for you already, all right. So, I mean, according to the Dorado manual, I don't have the Rockshox manual, but you want a sag of 20 to 30%. Now, some shocks have it written, it's like marked on the shaft itself. Now, mine may have been like that, but it's used, it may have rubbed off, all right? So, I can't really tell anymore. But that we're going to do something very similar to using those marks. Okay, so you got 20% to 30% sag, all right, and we have a stroke of 3.5 inches. So you take 20% and you take 30%, all right, so that's 3.5 inches times 20%. That's .20, all right. You remember this from algebra, right? 0.7 inches is the target sag for 20%, all right. If you're shooting for 30%,
3.5 times 0.3 equals 1.05, pretty much 1 inch. All right, so you want to get it somewhere between it 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch should be good. All right, yeah, if you think you're going to be riding with heavier gear on, then maybe you want to go with a lower sag number. All right, because then you might be adding more weight to the bike. Okay, so yeah, there you go. There's target sag 0.7 to 1 inch, pretty much 1.05 inches. Okay, so that's the target sag. Okay, and so I'm going to show you how to measure it on the bike. Okay, here's what you need to do. So you need your bike, and it would be very handy if you had a stand like this. Okay, so you can let all the weight off of the bike, and then you're going to need some kind of measuring device. I'm going to use a tape measure. All right, in inches. Okay. All right, so this is, as you can see here, it's a 500-pound spring, and it's got 3.5 inches of stroke. All right, that is the correct spring for the Rockshox. Okay, for the Sur Ron. All right, if you're gonna get the Sur Ron, you have to have this shock. All right, I guess you could use a slightly shorter one if you have the 160 Segway 160. Okay, so there should be a bump stop. All right, see this little bumper here? There should be a bump stop for your shock. All right, so what you're gonna do is stick your finger in there. All right, probably a pinky finger is the best. All right, or you can get something and stick it in there. All right, you're gonna move that bumper all the way up there. All right, all the way up. There you go. Okay, and so that's what we're gonna use to measure our sag width. Okay, it's kind of like the rubber band. All right, see the rubber band on the fork? That acts as like the rubber band. All right. Okay, and then what you're gonna do is when you get on the bike, you're gonna measure it. All right, you're gonna measure the distance from the bumper to the bottom of the shock shaft. All right. So as you can see, this shaft, I know it's kind of hard for me to get it in there. It's roughly 3.5 inches. All right. Yeah, if you measure that, it's about 3.5 inches. Okay. But we're concerned with the distance from here to the bumper. Okay, the top of the bumper. All right. So I'm gonna go sit on the bike and check the sag. All right. So what you're gonna want to do. All right. So this is the good thing about this is you only need one person to do this with. You're gonna lower your bike, and your bike and the shock may sag a little bit already. All right. So hopefully you got the right spring. If you don't, then like you're gonna have to get the right spring. All right, you're gonna sit on the bike. All right, and then assume a riding position. All right, so you're gonna want to assume a riding position, like how you would normally ride. So I'm kind of balancing myself on with my toolbox here. All right, but like yeah, so here I am in my riding position. You know, how you would normally ride. All right, with all my gear on. Okay. And then you're going to want to get off, okay, without pressing down on the suspension, all right, because then that'll mess up the results, all right, okay. And then you're going to want to put it back on the stand. You could probably just put it back on the side stand, but it may droop a little. It's better if you just put it on a stand. Okay, okay, there you go, and you can see the wheel is already moving back. Okay, and then we're gonna go check our sag. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna measure that what I told you to measure before. All right, so you're gonna measure from the top of the bumper to the bottom of the shock body. All right, so I'm gonna stick this in here and bend it. So that's the nice thing about this guy. Okay, and then we're gonna measure that distance, and it's about. I'm looking at it. It's got a little bit more than 3/4. All right, kind of like 7/8 inches. All right, almost 1 inch. All right, so that is within our target. All right. Okay, so when I checked it, it was right around here. All right, just shy of 1 inch, 7/8 inches. Okay, so you look back here to our calculations, 0.7 to 1.5. We were about. What was it? 7/8 inches. Let's call that. Yeah, it was kind of like a 0.8 inches. So I think that's perfect. That's about 25% sag, right? What's 25%? Yeah, that's like 25% sag. So that's perfect. Okay, so I'm not really gonna mess with that. Okay, so if you're out of this range right here, or you're not where you want to be, all right, if you have too much sag, all right, let's say you're more than 1 inch. If you're more than 1 inch sag, the measurement we took, you're going to tighten the spring perch. Okay, if you got less than 0.7 inches, you're going to loosen the spring perch. All right, and I'll show you how to do that real quick. Okay, I'm assuming you already know how to do this because you've already, so it helps to have the bike on a stand already, all right? That way there's no weight on it at all. And then all you're gonna do, basically you're gonna spin the spring, all right? So if I wanted more, you're gonna tighten this, okay? Okay, just like that. All right, you see the perch moving a little bit. If you want to loosen it, if you have too little sag, then static sag, right? You're going to want to loosen it. You're going to go the opposite direction, all right? And I don't know what tool you use to do this, all right? So at a certain point, you're probably not going to be able to turn it anymore. If you run out of threads on the shock body, that means you got the wrong spring, all right? You need to get a stiffer spring, all right? This is a 500-pound spring. And I feel that's already kind of too stiff, though. Okay. All right. So that's the gist of it right there. All right. All right. I hope you guys learned something. I hope that was an entertaining video. Thanks for watching. That is how to adjust the sag on your Sur Ron Light Bee equipped with a Rockshox Vivid R2C shock and maybe a Kage shock. Okay, I don't know. I'm not 100% if that works on a Kage, but I think it's pretty much the same shock, all right? So it's actually very easy with the Rockshox, okay? You don't have to sit on the bike, put the thing, get the thing on the axle, and take that measurement, and then sit on it, and then try to measure it while you're on the bike. You could use the bumper as a marker, okay? So, okay. Yeah, so just remember, if you want less sag, you need to tighten the spring perch, all right? And if you want more sag, you need to loosen the spring perch, all right? And so you want to shoot for 20 to 30%, all right? Somewhere around there. If you think you're going to be riding your bike with heavier gear on later, you probably want to shoot for a little less sag, okay? That's what I'm going to say, okay? The more weight you have on the bike, the more sag you're going to have on the bike, so the more you're going to have to turn that spring, all right? The spring preload, all right? But if you run out of adjustment on this, all right, for I don't know, mountain bikes is kind of weird. For mountain bikes, I heard that you're supposed to select the right spring, all right, for your weight, and then you're just supposed to just take all this collar does is it just takes up the slack for the perch, all right. It doesn't really put any pressure on the spring, all right. That you can do a little fine-tune adjustments, but like they say like no more than like 3 full turns or something, and then you should be good, all right? If you have to do more than three turns, or you can't turn this anymore by hand, then you probably need a stiffer spring, all right? And your bike probably won't ride proper. The suspension won't be proper if you don't have the right spring, all right? My suggestion, somewhere from like 400 to 500, maybe a 550, all right? If you're a heavy dude, okay, yeah, I didn't mention that, okay? I'm 5'10", 180 pounds, all right? So I'm somewhere around that area. 5'10", 180 pounds. Now it doesn't. My height doesn't really matter, but my weight matters, all right? And then the weight with your gear on, all right? So that's why you got to wear your gear, okay? So yeah, with my gear on, and I'm 180 pounds, this 500-pound spring is fine, all right? If you are heavier than me, you say you're more than like 200 pounds, you probably want to get a 550 spring, all right? If you are lighter than me, somewhere like, if you're like 150 to like 100 pounds, maybe you might want to go down a little bit to like a 450-pound spring, okay? And I'm not going to lie, these springs are kind of hard to find, all right? Especially
for this size of shock, because the shock is very, very long for like a mountain bike shock. Okay. Yeah, but remember, it's got a 3.5 inch stroke. Okay. So you want to do 20 to 30% of that. All right. But yeah, so that just gives you an idea. The 500-pound spring is fine for me, and I'm 180 pounds without my gear on. Okay. So that's just to give you guys a reference when choosing a spring. All right. Okay. So I hope that helps with tuning your Rockshox Vivid R2C. Thanks for watching. Here's Miguel.